Like, is 100 the best place to be if there's no test and no way to even know if you're wrong or right?
Is 100% the best place to be if there's no way to tell if you're wrong or right? I mean, you mean like personally, like just for me, just for Andrew, you mean? I don't know if it necessarily it doesn't hurt anybody, and it certainly doesn't hurt me if it's working. So.
So I'm interviewing people about something that's meaningful to you, something that you think is true. And I'm asking questions that involve how you arrived at your conclusion and what supports your confidence that it's true. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Okay.
Wow.
And there's a couple of different ways we can go about it.
Yeah.
Andrew, right?
Yes, Andrew.
The traditional spelling?
Traditional spelling.
A-N-D-R-E-W.
A-N-D-R-E-W.
E-W? Okay.
Absolutely.
Let me get a different pen here. There's a couple of different ways we can do it. We can either kind of have a meta conversation about what you think truth is, or like what your criteria is for something to be true.
Okay.
We can explore a specific claim or belief that you hold.
Yeah.
We can do that without me knowing what the claim is.
Yeah.
Which kind of helps me take my biases out of the questioning. Mm-hmm. It helps me stay more neutral.
Yeah.
Or you can pick a problem that you think we have and tell me what your solution is to the problem, and I can ask about why you think that solution is a good solution.
Okay.
So what do you think?
Wow, there's a lot to cover. Wow. Is this purely on my end, or is this a back and forth thing? Do you give your opinions on stuff as well, or is it more of you kind of poking the bear, kind of questioning me? Either way is fine. I'm just curious.
The idea is to figure out the relationship between the quality of your reasons and the confidence that you have that it's true. You can ask me questions, but like with the hidden claim, the reason why I do it sometimes that way is because I don't want to influence your answers.
Right.
And sometimes when it's like a back and forth, that can kind of have an effect on how you answer. Mm-hmm. I'm really interested in exploring a conclusion you hold.
Yeah. So the ultimate goal, you're saying, of what you do, of traveling around, of asking people these questions, and true or false, your ultimate goal is to kind of allow people to discover their beliefs and why they believe them and why they believe them confidently in a way.
And if their reasons are good enough to support the confidence that they have.
Interesting. That's really neat.
Like, do you want to have sufficient reasons for being confident in something that you think is true?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well,
Absolutely.
this is kind of testing that out.
Yeah. It's neat. Very neat.
And so, like, it's up to you. Like, whatever you want to share.
Yeah.
And however you want to take this. But that's kind of what I'm doing. And you can ask me whatever you want. Like, I don't mind sharing. Just keep in mind that it could affect the goal of the project.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, yeah, I totally get you. It's not a debate. It's more of a conversation.
I'm not here to argue.
Yeah, absolutely. It's fantastic.
What's cool about doing this is that I like to be involved in my community, for instance, but I don't like to argue. So this kind of allows me to connect with people, connect with my community, you know, but not have to debate and argue with people. I think that I don't think debate really is that useful unless you want to convince like a crowd to being on one side or another based on, and a lot of it's like emotional, like how well somebody speaks can influence a crowd.
Absolutely.
Regardless of what they're saying is accurate or not.
Right, 100%. I mean, that's politics in a way.
Exactly.
100%.
Right. And so I think it's more useful if you want to help people reflect on the quality of their reasoning to ask the kinds of questions that I ask.
I'm trying to think of a good question that we can kind of we can hit and run with, something that's not been done, something that's, I don't know, that you can really work with.
Well, think of it as a statement.
Yeah.
Instead of a question. I mean, you could do it a question, but think of a statement that you're convinced is true, that affects your behavior in the world. Like if you found out it was not true, your behavior would change. I also have a can of words.
Can of words.
Which can kind of help in this situation where you're not really sure what to talk about. So
Let's do a can of words. I love a good random random discussion.
And you don't have to go with the first one.
Okay.
You can throw it back.
Okay.
And fish for another one.
Okay.
But these words can kind of help generate an idea that you might feel strongly about.
Okay.
That we
do
could go over.
Let's do it, David. You having a good day?
Awesome.
It's a beautiful day for this. Oh man.
Yeah.
So how long you been in Auburn? How long you been doing this in Auburn?
Today is my first and might be only day that I'm here at Auburn, but I've been traveling since late March, early April of last year.
It's awesome.
Going to different communities, some of them, college campuses, sometimes just parks.
Yeah.
Just where I think people might be. So what word did you?
The word is mind.
Mind.
Mine doesn't spark a lot.
Okay, you want to do another one?
Let's re-roll. I'm really determined to find something here, David.
Oh,
we can work with.
There's plenty in there, I think.
Let's pick something from the bottom. You shuffled this often. I'm gonna pick something people know from way deep down in there.
Perfect.
Something people haven't looked at in a while.
Sounds good.
Or looked at ever. Reflect. Wow.
Do another one. Third time's a charm.
I'll make a claim on reflect. I think reflect is.
You want to throw it back in here?
Yeah, throw it back in there.
Reflect. Okay.
Reflect.
So what is a claim that you can make that you're convinced is true?
David,
that involves reflect or reflection.
Yeah. I can kind of talk to the camera. David, my name is Andrew. Here at a beautiful day at Auburn, and my claim I'm going to make today is that I believe we all have a purpose.
Okay.
I believe that we all have
a purpose. Okay.
And I say that because my statement could be that we are all created for a purpose. But for me to say that we are created for a purpose, the first thing your mind thinks of is if we are created, then there is a creator.
It's kind of two claims there.
It is two claims.
We're created and we have a purpose.
Right. And so I don't want to necessarily jump into, are we created for a purpose? I want to look at the straight fact of, I believe we all have a purpose.
Okay.
You see, I think in our world a lot of times, whether it's theological, whether it's political, whether it's, socioeconomic, the first thing that someone thinks of when you say created, they think of a creator and they think of religion. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes in our society, we get too focused in on tying religion and theological debates to political debates and civil rights debates. Mm-hmm. And I think they're all separate and they all have their own avenues. Now, I'm a Christian. I believe in that, we have one true God. But ultimately, I think that it's really important that as we progress as a society, we retain the ability to do this. For you and me to talk. For you and me to have open discussion on a beautiful day in Auburn, Alabama. And for us to not necessarily stay in our lane, because it's important to talk about all three of those things. But I think it's so important that we don't let other worlds collide when that's not necessarily what we're talking about. So for the question of, are we created for a purpose? Or do we have a purpose? I believe that everyone has a purpose, right?
Okay.
I believe that everybody, is born with some kind of, I don't necessarily know if it's a predetermined destiny, but I think everybody has their own unique interests. I think everybody has their own unique talents, their own unique values. I don't know if everyone has found their own unique talents, interests, or values yet. Mm-hmm. But somewhere along the line, things develop, whether it's a gift for the arts, or it's a gift for mathematics, or it's a gift for moving a crowd, if it's leading, if it's following. I believe that no matter what that is, your socioeconomic upbringing and the world you live in shape who you are. Mm. And because of that, you're naturally drawn to things, right? You might be drawn to the arts, like we said. You might be drawn to leading or following. But I think everybody has a purpose. And no matter what that is, I think it is wrong for us to not follow that purpose.
Okay.
So, that's a hard debate. Is it wrong to follow our purpose or not follow our purpose? But
can I interject here?
Go for it.
How do you know that we all have a purpose?
How do I know that we all have a purpose? David, if I were to take all 35,000 students at Auburn University and you ask them, what is your favorite? Not what's your favorite music, not what's your favorite song, not what's your favorite job, what's your favorite passion. Just what is your favorite? And leave the blank there.
Okay.
You would get all different answers. You might get the answer of, my favorite is a long walk on a beach. My favorite is, I have a passion to be a doctor. I want to be a doctor. My favorite is 6 cute puppy dogs in a bed. And that question, I think, is so special because you ask someone what is their favorite blank, and you get an answer from the heart. But you get different answers. You get different kinds of answers. David, I am so certain that we all have a purpose because I'm so certain that everybody, no matter how cold, no matter how bitter, no matter what cards they were dealt in life, everybody has something that they value or love, right? And
we all have a purpose because we all value?
We all have a purpose because we all have something that we care about. We all have something. It can be somebody. It can be a place. It can be a feeling. It can be a taste. It can be a touch. And no matter what that is, we all have a desire innate in us, human, to chase that. Now, you could argue all day, well, Andrew, this is not my purpose. But say my purpose was to become the best painter in the world. But I don't have money to buy paints. I wasn't born in a household that supported paints. Maybe I was born in a household that said, Andrew, I want you to be a lawyer. I want you to grow up and I want you to be a lawyer. Being a lawyer is awesome. That makes great money. Who wouldn't want to be a lawyer is what you'd think. But if Andrew's purpose deep down, because he thinks he loves the arts, because he thinks he loves coloring and creativity, if I know my purpose is painting, then will I ever feel fulfilled going into law? I'm gravitated towards the things that I love. And, I think to say we all have a purpose is not to say that we will we will enjoy not following it. I think deep down, if you are following your purpose, I think you can love it. I think you will love it.
Okay, we all have a purpose, and the main reason that supports that is that we all have something we care about.
Absolutely.
Okay. 0 to 100, how confident? You sound really certain that we all have a purpose. Where would you put yourself on a scale from 0 to 100 about your confidence in that being true?
100.
100. Okay.
100.
Why is the reason we all have something we care about a sufficient enough reason to be 100% confident
That we all have a purpose.
in anything?
Right.
Like, why is that a good reason to be that confident in anything?
You mean just in general in the world?
Yeah,
in anything in the world? Why is it sufficient
Why is that
to
a
be
good
100%
reason?
confident in everything?
No,
Or in
why is
anything?
why is this a good reason?
Why is that a good reason?
Yeah.
Why is the statement, or why is the claim that we all have something we care about sufficient enough to back up the claim that we all have a purpose?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think a lot of times people get their purpose confused with their job, or they get their purpose confused with where they currently are. If I were to say we all have a purpose, and someone were to say, well, I'm working a 9 to 5 making minimum wage and I can't get out of it, this is not my purpose. I don't have a purpose, Andrew. I just work 9 to 5 to feed my kids. This is not fulfilling. I think so much we get so wrapped into the repetition of the world and the repetition of society and the repetition of grow up, go to high school, go to college, get a degree, get a job, just make it, that we forget about our human nature, right? That human nature being to create, to explore, to be us. Because I don't think everybody has to create. I don't think everybody has to explore. But everybody has something unique about them, right? Okay. And so to be 100% confident in the idea of we all have something we care about, proving our purpose, I'm 100% confident because I know we all have something. We all have something deep down within us.
We all have something to care about. That's your reason.
Right.
Why is that a good reason?
Is it true or false? I believe that if we all have something we care about, and that's true, then if you care about something, you should care enough to follow it. And if you're following that, then that is your purpose.
Okay. I guess to rephrase, are there other things that we could use this same reason for to be 100% confident about?
Absolutely.
Okay.
What are they?
Could we use that reason to arrive at a false conclusion?
A false conclusion of anything in general?
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's a broad statement. I think you can apply a broad statement to a broad area of things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, if we could use this reason, or if someone could use this reason, the reason you gave, to arrive at false conclusions, why is that a good enough reason to support 100% confidence?
I believe that if you're going to say that the statement of we all have something, if I'm going to say we all care about something, and someone's going to say, Andrew, that is a completely, for 100% fact, false, therefore we don't have a purpose, I don't believe that line of reasoning holds up. I believe simple line of reasoning says that.
That's not what I'm saying, though. I'm not saying that this reason is false as a statement. I'm saying, or I'm asking, if we can use this reason...
Right, to prove it, then why couldn't we use it to disprove it, is what you're asking?
No, I'm asking, if we can use this reason to arrive at false conclusions, why is that a good reason to be 100% confident?
That we all have a purpose?
Of anything.
Because it depends on what you apply it to.
Okay. So
it 100% depends on what you apply it to.
You said it was a broad statement. Can you be more specific Can you give me a more specific reason why you're convinced to a level of 100% confidence that we all have a purpose?
A more specific reason than that?
A reason that justifies 100% confidence. In other words, a reason that cannot be used to arrive at a false conclusion.
What I'm saying is I believe that reason right there, when applied to the question of do we have a purpose, I believe that it is 100% confidence. Yes, you can use that answer. You can use that answer on a million other things and prove them false. I believe that when you apply that answer to do we have a purpose, I believe that is true.
Yeah, you're 100% confident.
I believe that something you care about equals a purpose, because something you care about equals drive. And if you have a drive to do something, to follow a passion, to follow a dream, then that is you chasing your purpose. That is you chasing your goal.
Okay. Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm focusing on the reason, though,
I know.
and the quality of the reason.
Yeah.
And if this reason can support false conclusions, why is
However,
this reason...
what I'm saying is that is not a false conclusion.
You're saying this is not a false conclusion. We all have a purpose. You're 100% confident in that being true.
Correct.
And your main reason
Right.
is we all have something we care about.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Correct.
Is that all true so far?
Correct.
Okay. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you said that somebody could use that same reason to support something false. And if that's the case, why is that reason a good reason to be 100% confident in something?
Absolutely. Because I believe that in this context, in this specific context, right, that reason justifies that claim. In the same sense, if I were to say 2 + 2 = 4, the first thing you could say to that is, well, 2 + 2 doesn't equal anything else than 4. In a mathematical context, 2 + 2 = 4 and nothing else. However, 2 + 2 can be, I'll do my math here. Is that a bunch of letters? It could be, 2 + 2 can equal a bunch of letters. I can say 2 + 2 is just 3 symbols. 2 + 2 can be a bunch of lines. 2 + 2 can be a couple pen strokes. In a mathematical context, when I say what does 2 + 2 equals, it equals 4.
Yeah.
If I ask somebody who's never done math before, and I drew 2 + 2, and I asked them what that was, they might say it's art. They might say it's abstract art.
Yeah.
If I showed 2 + 2 to, ancient civilizations, they would tell me that that's a language they don't understand. But I think in the context, if we say, okay, claim 4, back it up, 2 + 2. 2 + 2 = 4. Claim reasoning, 2 + 2 equals it. In this context, of a mathematical context, 2 + 2 will always equal 4.
The
just
numbers
like in this
represent the math.
Correct.
Right? And when you can change the numbers and make the numbers represent something else, but the math will still be the same, right?
The numbers represent math, but the numbers are a human construct.
The numbers can change and the symbols can change, but the math is consistent. Would you say that?
Math is still present. If the numbers change, then it doesn't equal 4. Or it could change and it still equals 4.
Whatever you're using for your symbols, the math that we use numbers to represent is consistent, right? Just
the
like you
system
said,
we have in place, correct?
Math. Right. Can we use math to arrive at a false conclusion?
I mean, if that's what you're trying to use math for. You can use math to get a wrong answer, but is it? It's not correct math. Or it's correct math, it's just leading to a false conclusion. If I say 2 + 2 = 5, that is math. That's false math. That's not correct math.
Right.
Which also begs the question of math is something we made up to represent all kinds of it. That's the same thing.
Do you see where I'm getting at?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, some reasons are better than others.
Some reasons are better than others, absolutely.
Okay.
Your question is there a reason for do we have a purpose that backs it up better than the one that I gave? More confidently. More to a 100% proof of confidence.
Or maybe
This
something
game
more
is
specific, because you
done.
said that. Oh, that's okay. I've got.
You got 3 more. We
Yeah.
got some to spare.
You said that this was a broad statement.
It's a broad statement if you apply it to a broad
Yeah.
sort of things.
Do you have a more specific reason that supports your conclusion that we all have a purpose?
I don't know if we necessarily need one.
Okay. We don't need specific reasons sometimes?
We need specific reasons sometimes.
Okay. How do you decide when you need a more specific reason and when not to?
I'd say you need a more specific reason and when not to. When you are trying to make I'd say you need a more specific reason sometimes than not. The first thing that my mind thinks of, okay, well, I would need a more specific reason if I was going for something more accurate, for precision.
Okay.
Right? Specific, in definition, I would define specific as something that you can put into a category. Specific, if I have 10 M&Ms and they're all different colors, I'd say, well, be more specific. Okay, well, I have 10 M&Ms and 5 of them are red and 5 of them are blue. That's more specific. You're able to divide something up into more clear-cut pathways, right?
Gotcha.
So
It sounds like the more accurate you want to be, the more specific your reasoning needs to be.
the more accurate you want to be, the more specific your reasoning needs to be. Not necessarily.
Okay. So I missed
Yes.
what you're saying there.
Yes. I mean, in principle, yes.
Okay.
Right? But
How
at the same time,
how accurate do you want your
if
beliefs to be?
we're going to say, which I believe at face value is true, what we're saying, that you need to be more specific to be more accurate. At face value, you'd think yes. But at the same time, we're going to go back to the math thing. Sorry to go back to that.
No,
If
it's
2
fine.
plus 2 equals 4.
As long as I don't have to do the math, we could talk
I
about
just got
math
out of
all
the calculus
day.
test, so it's fresh on the brain. I think, in the same sense, if we're going to say 2 plus 2 equals 4, never in my life, and if I did, I mean, it's fair, but I've never heard a math teacher say, Andrew, be more specific. If they did, I could give more specific reasons, but I don't believe I have to.
Okay.
I could say 2.00000 plus 2.00000 equals 4. It would be more specific. It would be more accurate. It would be saying 2 with 5 or 6 or how many zeros I said, leading zeros, equals 4.
Uh-huh.
It's more specific. Therefore, it's more accurate.
Okay.
However, in the sense of we're just trying to do math, we're just trying to get an answer, it doesn't necessarily need to have the trailing zeros in the same sense of this. I believe that the human nature of having something we care about, we don't necessarily have to get up in our heads about it. We don't have to question everything we've ever done. We don't have to stress over it. And, I think in life, we can get as specific as we want. You can go, I'm just going to make up a story. You could go date a girl for a month. It could be the best thing you've ever done, and then you'll break up. And forever and ever and ever, you've always tried to be more specific. You always think about, what did I do wrong? Was it something I said? Was it the way I lived? Was it the way I acted? Was it my addictions? Was it my beliefs? And at the end of the day, you didn't have to be that specific. It was simply that she just couldn't do a relationship. One simple thing. We can get so wrapped up in being so specific.
Like overthinking stuff?
Overthinking stuff.
Okay.
And I think that's just as much human nature as anything is. I don't think anybody's ever at fault for overthinking anything.
This is probably my fault, but
but-
we've probably overthought this part of the interview anyway. So if you're okay moving on, are you okay moving on?
We can move on, yeah.
Okay. We can come back to this if you want, but
I think in whole, before we move on, like the closing statement there is at least, everything in the world doesn't have to be so specific and so precise and so perfect. Now, if you're shooting somebody to the moon, I sure hope it's specific and accurate. Mm-hmm. But,
there are some things that you're not worried about being too accurate about.
There are absolutely some things in this world that sometimes the saying, you just have to trust your gut. Sometimes you just have to trust your gut. And sometimes, we will spend more time dwelling on something and wasting away time, the only thing we don't have a lot of, when we could have just gone with our gut. We could have just lived. We could have just spoken. We could have just done it.
Mm-hmm. Going with your gut. That might be something we would talk about next time.
Yeah.
And how reliable that is.
Yeah. Not very sometimes.
Okay. But if you found out that this was false, that the claim we all have a purpose is false,
mm-hmm.
somehow,
some way.
Somehow you found out that was false. What would that mean for you? How would that change your world?
Absolutely. If I found out the question of do we all have a purpose is false, how would I react? I think the question of do we all have a purpose goes hand in hand with what people call the question of the universe, the age-old question of what is the meaning of life? Mm-hmm. What is the meaning of life? Why are we here? What are we doing? Were we meant to be in school studying engineering? Were we meant to travel the world and ask questions and study people? And if I found out that was false, then it would ask. I think the question would flip on itself. The claim of we all have a purpose would become a question. It would become, do we have a purpose? Not, we have a purpose. If I found out it was false, it would be, do we have a purpose? The answer is no. So then the response would be, well, what is all this for? What is the meaning of life, mm-hmm. right?
Are you open to being mistaken about this?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
You could be mistaken about this.
I could be mistaken about it. I'm 100% confident about that, but I can absolutely be mistaken. I think 100% confidence does not equal truth. 100% confidence does not equal fact.
Okay.
I think everybody's entitled to their own level of confidence, their own truth. Yeah.
How would you find out if you were wrong?
How would I find out if I was wrong? How would I find out that I was wrong about us all having a purpose?
Yeah.
How would I find out? It'd be a pretty hard thing to find out. If someone came up to me and said, Andrew, you're wrong.
If you were convinced you were wrong.
If I was convinced.
How would you find out? How would you find out if you were wrong? I'm not saying you're wrong.
Yeah, no, you're great. You're great. I love
how
this.
Would you find out?
You're poking the bear. I love it. You got to. How would I find out I was wrong about us all having a purpose? I think if I knew I had no purpose, then I would have no joy. I would have no creativity. I would have no reason to wake up. I would have no feeling.
That's what you would do. That's the answer to my previous question. What would it mean if you found out you were wrong? Which is great. This question is, how would you find out that you were, if you were?
I think it's something that's so philosophical that there isn't really, it's more of a concept or a debate. It's not necessarily something that you hey Riley, something that you necessarily say that is wrong. To answer the question of how would I find out that it's wrong, I don't think I ever will. I don't think I ever can. I don't think that's something I can find out is wrong. And to flip that, you could also say, well, Andrew, how could you ever find out that that's true?
Right.
The answer to that would be because I have 100% confidence. And the answer to that would be, well, Andrew, that 100% confidence doesn't mean anything. Because you can be 100% confident, but it doesn't make it fact. It doesn't make it true. I don't think that's okay. I think we're all entitled to believe whatever we want to believe, to share whatever we want to share. David, I think I could say right now, dude, the sky, y'all can't see it. Maybe you can. Can you see it back there? The sky's purple, y'all. Isn't that sick? And every single one of you watching are like, okay, the sky's not purple, Andrew. The sky is purple. And I have full right to believe that the sky is purple. If I want to think the sky's purple, I can. Because I have that human right to believe whatever I want to believe. And you have the right to criticize me. You have the right to say, Andrew, you're crazy. The sky's blue.
Mm-hmm. I have the right to question it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I believe that the sky's blue, by the way.
You have no way to find out if you're wrong. How important is it for you to believe things that are true?
How important is it for me to believe things that are true? Just important enough to the extent of it doesn't hinder my ability to live. Let me elaborate on that. How important is it that you believe in things that are true? The natural reaction most people I think would give to that is extremely important, incredibly important. Who wants to believe a lie? Who wants to believe a false thing, right? Nobody at face value. But
you'd be surprised at the answers that I get.
Really? I think a lot of people would say, well, like I said, you do this, I don't. I think a lot of people would say, I don't want to believe a lie, I want to believe things that are true. But my response to that is, yeah, who wants to, nobody wants to believe lies, I guess, but sometimes people don't want to know the truth. Sometimes people don't care.
How important is it to you?
That's what I'm elaborating on.
Beliefs
how important is it
reality.
for me? I said earlier. It's just important to me. It is important to me completely until it gets to a point where it can hinder my ability to live.
Okay.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying we can argue all day, is Area 51 real? Are there aliens out there? Are there? And people can argue with that and say, oh, yeah, there are. The government's lying to you. Yeah, they're out there. But if I get wrapped up in my head all day, if aliens are real, if that's truth or not, in the same sense of I'm spending all day overthinking when I could be out living, it's the same thing as I can spend my life studying Area 51, but at the end of the day, whether it's true or false, it doesn't affect how I live. That's a truth that I wish I knew. But at a certain point, you got to get out and smell the roses, you know?
If this were false, would you want to know?
Sure, yeah.
You would want to know if you were believing this and it were false, you would want to know that.
Yeah.
Okay. So that falls in the bucket of things that you do care if you're believing truth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. To an extent, like I said.
Okay. So, just to summarize here. Well, actually, do you have time? I don't want to keep you.
I think I'm good, yeah.
Okay. Do we have the ability to test this conclusion to see if it's true or not? Is there a test we could perform?
Is there a test we could perform? No.
No test?
No test. I think the first reaction would be, a lot of people might argue, yeah, you can test it. Go ask 1,000 people. Go survey 1,000 people. Go survey 100,000 people. Go survey 1 billion people. But all billion of those people is just an opinion. That's just their level of confidence. Mine's 100%.
Yeah.
But
you're saying that wouldn't be a good test?
I don't think it'd be a good test.
So no test. And you said that you have no way to find out if you were wrong?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So you're 100% confident
Yep.
in something that you have no way to tell if you're wrong.
Yep. And something that I don't necessarily have any way to tell that I'm right.
Right?
Right.
You have no way to test it.
Yeah.
And you're using, broadly,
Yep.
a reason that could be used to arrive at false conclusions.
You could argue that. Yeah.
Okay.
I would argue that once again that 2 + 2 equals 4 in a mathematical context. I would argue that claim comes to that conclusion in this context.
Yeah. The reason in that context, from what I heard, was it would be the math. Math would be the reason. And so math, if done incorrectly, can lead to false conclusions.
Right.
But the math itself could not. I might be
I was with you there till the
inserting
very
my
end.
own.
I was with you there till the end. I get what you're saying. If you do the math
Incorrect
wrong,
math isn't. Would you still call that math?
that's its own debate. That's its own question.
Okay.
Is incorrect math still math?
We can leave that alone.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think. I think math is a subject. I think math is a concept. It's the idea of equating numbers to true or false questions.
Is there anything else that you're 100% confident in that you have no way to tell if you were wrong, there's no way to test it, and you're using reasons that could be used to arrive at false conclusions. Like, is 100 the best place to be if there's no test and no way to even know if you're wrong or right?
Is 100% the best place to be if there's no way to tell if you're wrong or right? I mean, you mean like personally, like just for me, just for Andrew, you mean? I don't know if it necessarily it doesn't hurt anybody. And it certainly doesn't hurt me if it's working. So,
can something work and it not be true?
Elaborate on that. Can something work and it not be true? Okay.
Can someone be believing things that work for them,
but they're not true?
But they're not true.
What is truth in regards to what they're working for? Is truth moral?
Yeah.
Is truth moral correctness, moral uprightness? Is it?
We can go with that. If somebody wants to be moral, and
if someone's doing something
and
that
the
works
belief
for
that
them,
that they hold is helping them to be moral, can that belief still be false?
if someone is doing something that is progressing them, that is leading them to be moral, that they're believing to be moral, can that be false? No. Because
Can the belief that they're holding that's helping them to be moral be false?
You're saying is the belief false itself?
Could the belief
if
be
it's
false?
helping them be moral?
Yeah.
That's another context thing. I mean, your belief could be something outlandish, but if truth to you is moral correctness, then no. If I'm believing something and it is helping me to be more moral, and truth is being more moral, then yeah, what I'm doing is truth, because in this context, moral equates to level of morality equates to truth. However, I could say I'm going to go burn down an orphanage of kittens, and you're going to say that's pretty morally awesome. I'd say it's not, but you say it is. And so if to you, I'm not saying you, I'm just saying in general, analogy. If someone equates burning down an orphanage of kitten orphans, is morally correct, then in their mind it is true. In my mind, burning down a kitten orphanage is awful. Why would you do that? They're just kittens. Orphan kittens, it's awful.
Yeah.
But I think
I'm kind of going back to you said, as long as it's working for you.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what took me down this little path of, if it's working for me, does that make it true?
And once again, I say that and when you say working for me, what does that mean? Do you mean working for me as in, like, that's when we got down to the moral rabbit hole. We said working for you.
My lucky rabbit's foot.
Yeah.
If every time I rub it, Auburn scores a touchdown.
Yeah.
And that seems to be working for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not hurting anyone.
Yeah.
Except for the other teams.
Hey, Evan.
How does that affect the truth of the connection between me rubbing a rabbit's foot and the score?
And the score getting into the ball?
Yeah.
Into the touchdown, into the end zone?
It's working for me.
And you're saying every time you rub that foot, they score a touchdown?
Sure, it's working for me. Every time I notice that, I do that.
Yeah, then it's true. Until it doesn't. Until the day comes that you rub that foot and they don't score a touchdown, then now it's proven false because they didn't score a touchdown. You rub the foot and it... Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, well, you could make a lot of comparisons there. I mean,
Yeah, it's just an example.
You
like,
could, like,
I'm
I mean,
trying to stay away from religion.
No, you're great.
Because that was kind of what you were trying to do earlier, and I'm trying to respect that. So, okay, yeah. Do you have anything else you want to say?
No.
Okay. Well, that was fun, man.
This is fun. There are so many millions of topics you can go into.
Yeah.
You can get so down into a rabbit hole, no pun intended.
Yeah.
But, this is neat. Very cool. I've always seen stuff like this on YouTube, and I've always wondered, like, man, I wonder, that'd be so cool to do, So,
Thanks for your feedback.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you feel like you were challenged?
I'd say, I mean, sure, yeah. Well, yeah. I think I was more, not postponed. I was more, there were times where I had to stop and think. There were times where I had to kind of dive deep into, like, okay, where am I? What do I think? And I guess if that's challenge, then yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
If challenge is having to figure out things and puzzle through things, then yeah, I was challenged, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Any other feedback?
Keep doing what you're doing, man.
Cool.
Especially on college campuses, you don't get a lot of chances to speak your mind. You don't get a lot of chances to
Really?
just be real. In today's world, we live in a digital age. We can't do anything without someone seeing it or someone doing anything. And there's that, and you can argue, well, if you're doing everything right, then what's the problem with that? But it's rare that people can just sit down and talk and speak. I mean, the average teen.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, it's very rare that we just get chances to just do this.
Where I thought you were going was, because this is kind of an issue in some universities.
Yeah.
Is students feel like they can't speak their mind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because of, like, social pressures.
Absolutely.
Or, like, ooh, somebody heard me say this and now I don't have a scholarship.
Yeah. Couldn't be true. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe if we talk again, we could talk about that.
We have lost the ability. We have disconnected a human right of speech to a human right to truth. It's like I said, I could say all day that the sky is purple. I might not believe it. I can say all day 2 + 2 = 5, but I know 2 + 2 = 4. You could make a claim that is barbaric, that's awful, that is horrendous, that hurts people, and not believe it yourself. Someone would ask that person, well, why would you say it? Why would you say it? Why would you say something that doesn't reflect what you think? Why would you say something that isn't honorable, that isn't truthful, that isn't considerate to other people? I think we should all be considerate to each other.
Do you think that happens a lot? Do you think that people say things that they don't think are true?
Absolutely.
Here?
Here on Auburn's campus?
Yeah.
Sure. I think on Auburn's campus, I think on Alabama's campus, I think on Florida's campus.
Do you have an example?
I think on every campus, I think in every single place in the world, people say things that they don't believe to be true.
Do you have an example?
Do I have an example? Yeah. I could think of one. It might take a while. I mean...
Is there something you've said that you don't think is true? Not to put you on the spot.
No, you're good. You're great. That's something that I'd have to kind of think about.
Okay.
Ponder. I think in the
that's fair.
In the context of not debate, of discussion, short term, I would have to think about that more. Short answer, yes. I would have to figure out what it is.
Okay.
But we have lost the ability totally to speak our mind. Everyone assumes that what you say is what you mean. What you say is factually true. And it's not. We all have the right and the ability to say what we want, to do what we want. I think. And it's going to be interesting in 40 years when it's our generation leading the country, right? Because, we are often thought of the first generation to have to live with these, right? Too often we think about the first generation to live with these, and we don't think enough about the last generation to live with human rights. you know?
Interesting.
It's so crazy that we spent thousands and hundreds of years fighting for civil rights, and when it was finally achieved, and people would argue that it's still not achieved fully, you know, I'd agree. People would argue that, you know, well, we fought so hard for civil rights, and it's still not achieved. And in all that, in hundreds of thousands of years fighting for civil rights, we lost human rights in the span of 10, 20 years. You could ask, what's the reason? You could say it's the internet. You could say, what's the reason? You could say it's social media. You could argue 1,000 different ways to open that can of worms. But it's irreversible. It is truly irreversible. I think it's irreversible because of human greed. I think, you know, the simple answer is, well, if we just took them all away, the world would be good again. You know, doesn't necessarily hold up. I mean, there was problems 50 years ago, just like there's problems now. People say now, oh, the president's terrible. We have a terrible president. We have a terrible government. They're not running the country right. I wish we had Kennedy back in office. I wish we had insert the blank. I'm not trying to point out anybody for any reason. I'm just giving examples, you know. People say all day, well, man, it's not as good as it used to be. But you look back and you say, okay, well, yeah, if we wish Kennedy was still in office, let's look at when Kennedy was president. There were problems when Kennedy was president. There's been problems when every president was president. But I think we're so blinded by nostalgia, and we're so blinded by the negativity we're put under, that we can't see the light at the end of the tunnel anymore. In the same sense of, we are so caught up in this world that we've created that we've lost the world we were meant to live in. We've lost the natural ability to just be, to just exist. So
you sound full of hope.
You know, it's going to take the right people. It's going to take the right amount of faith. And it's going to take a lot of hope. And David, I hope to be a change. I hope to be a part of that. I hope to make a difference.
Well, that's what you're here for, right?
That's my purpose. That's my purpose. So,
cool, Andrew.
This was great. Hey, I appreciate you, man. This is fantastic.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks
War
for
Eagle.
participating.
Yeah, 100%, man. Have a great day.
Right on. You too.
Yeah.
It's really coming down.
And check out the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Scan right
it
there.
real quick, dude. If anything, man, I'd use the second, that end bit. Use none of the first bit. That's the content.
I don't cut anything out.
That's great. That's awesome.
It's all long form,
Yeah.
so that there's no question about, oh, you made me say this. Or
Yeah. And that is rare too in the content creation world, gosh.
Yeah. Well, with the short attention span and TikTok world,
Yeah.
but some people find it valuable.
It's incredible. You're fighting a great fight, man.
Cool.
Awesome, dude. Hey, I hope to see you again.
Take care.
See you, David. Yeah.